What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And before I go any further, I do want to apologize and ask you guys to bear with me, because I'm sure, as you can hear, I am going through some horrendous allergies, but we soldier on because, one, it's been far too long since I've put out a video, and two, we did just get the first official teaser trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day, and I want to talk about that. So, basically, I want to give my thoughts on this and discuss it a little bit. It's weird because I'm not, the biggest fan. And I actually have the trailer put on this, so if you see me look to the side, that's why I have the trailer still playing. I'll be honest here. I'm not the biggest fan of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Not because of Tom Holland. I do think he's good casting for the role. He looks like Peter Parker. I think he's a good enough actor. He does a great job. But it's mainly been the writing. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard people liken him to Spider-Boy or Iron Lad or whatever. Because it's basically what he was. He felt like he was Iron Man's sidekick and not Spider-Man. He wasn't his own character. And it took him three movies to get there. When, we're doing a character whose origin story back in 1962. The origin story was 12 pages, but that's a discussion for another time. This, it looks interesting. I'm not overexcited for it. I'm not overly down on it or anything. It's just, I kind of feel whelmed. There's some cool things here. There's some kind of things. Like, for example, I was never the biggest fan of Zendaya or, what's his name, Jacob Batalon's characters. I didn't like either of their characters. I think, personally, Zendaya is one of the most overrated actresses out there. She's fine, but people act like she's, like, the greatest thing ever. And I just really didn't care too much about those characters. I was always more invested in, Peter. So, when they basically had him forget, everything that happened at the end of No Way Home, and he basically gave up who he was as Peter so that he could save everybody and everyone had to forget who he was, I was like, oh, cool, we're starting fresh. We're getting rid of all that. We're, basically starting from here on. So, with this movie basically now bringing them back, it kind of makes me think, well, what was the point of the end of No Way Home then, if you're just going to undo all of that? So that's one thing I do kind of have an issue with. Again, because of the whole, I guess, deal or whatever it is that Sony and Marvel have, because for, Marvel to have the rights to do these Spider-Man movies, they have to have, I believe, it's at least 2 Marvel characters in addition to Spider-Man in the film. So, like, you have to have basically, I think it was in Homecoming, there was Spider-Man, obviously Iron Man, and then you have a little clip of Captain America. In Far From Home, I think it was Nick Fury, and there was another, I think maybe it was Maria Hill. I think the 2 of them basically covered that. And then this one we have, in No Way Home there was Doctor Strange and Wong, and then in this one we have Punisher and Hulk. Now, Punisher I'm fine with, because if you don't know, Punisher first appeared in a Spider-Man comic book. That's where he, got his start. So he has roots to Spider-Man. But Hulk is my issue, or at least what we see in the teaser is Bruce Banner, because I can't stand Mark Ruffalo. I think he's an absolute jerkwad, and he's like a meh actor. He was good as Hulk in the first Avengers movie, and then after that, it's gotten progressively worse. But anyway, that aside, the basic premise of the movie seems interesting. It basically kind of looks like they're doing a story they did in the comics, which basically the reason they did it was they basically had him kind of like, since spiders have these different, like life cycles and whatnot, they had Peter go through this, rebirth, where he like webbed himself up in this web cocoon, which they do show in the movie, in the teaser. But I think there's this other like female villain or whatever, she like does it, like tries to like, turn him into a spider, and it's this whole convoluted thing. They're basically just doing this idea that, oh, spiders have life cycles, you're going through like your second life cycle, And we see him in a web cocoon under this bridge, or some kind of like fire escape or whatever. I think it was a fire escape, where he's basically, just, covered in the webbing, and he's basically just, in his sundies, and he like wakes up, he falls out, and he doesn't have his web shooters on. They make a point of showing that, and then he catches himself by shooting a web. So it kind of looks like they're going for the whole organic webbing or organic web shooters thing, which I prefer, always have. As cool as I think the web shooters are, it always made sense to me, like, how does he get bitten by a spider, get all of the abilities of a spider except for the ability to make his own webbing? Now I know there are some benefits to the web shooters. You can make all kinds of different types of webbing, like the earlier stuff he does, like weapons and whatnot, and he has like different, like he has some like that coagulates for like fighting different villains and whatnot, and like the different web fluid for different things, which is cool, but it is kind of like, well, why can't he do it on his own? So it is cool if that is the route they're going through, which it does look like they are. And it looks to me like the Hand is involved in this. He's fighting a bunch of like red-clad ninjas, and I'm like, Spider-Man versus the Hand? Okay, I can kind of get behind that. That's really cool. So I'm wondering then, is Daredevil going to make an appearance? Maybe, because we know this, in I guess now in the timeline, because this movie was supposed to take place, I think, initially between Doomsday and Secret Wars, but now it's before Doomsday, so I don't know. But there's a scene where Peter as Spider-Man gets the key to the city, and it looks like, who was it? I think it was it Fisk's advisor or whatever, one of the people in, if you watch Daredevil Born Again season 1, she was in that, and it looks like she's the mayor now. So a lot of people were speculating, oh, did this kind of spoil Daredevil Born Again, because season 2 premieres in I think about a week from recording this, so I will be doing reviews on that. So who knows, maybe we could see Daredevil. That would be very cool. I'd love to see Daredevil and Spider-Man together finally, and not just, like this Matt Murdock scene in No Way Home. But again, it looks fun. We get to see Scorpion, which looks pretty cool. We get to hear him talk to a different, he talks to Bruce Banner, he talks to another scientist about spiders and their life cycle and things. Excuse me. And we also get to see, honestly, some really cool shots and imagery. There's some really cool web slinging shots that kind of make me think very like Andrew Garfield style, which is kind of interesting. There's a really cool shot where he's looking at, I guess it's either Ned or MJ's social media, while them talking about getting to MIT, and he's sitting on, I think, like scaffolding or something, with his mask up over his head, which I like. I always like seeing Spider-Man do kind of thing where he's just like chilling, and he's got like his mask on the top of his head or something like that. Or he has like pulled up to his nose where he's like drinking a drink or something. I always think that's just fun. It's very Spider-Man, so that's pretty cool. And he pulls on his mask and jumps off, and there's this really cool like shot of him falling, and we see like his eye inside of the mask, which was a very cool shot. I did like that a lot. There's a lot of very cool visuals in this. His interaction with the Punisher looked pretty cool. Punisher hits him with the battle van, which is pretty funny, and then he goes to cuss, and Spider-Man like webs his mouth so he can't do that. So that was pretty funny. I did like that a lot. So I'm excited to see his interactions with Punisher. That could be pretty fun. But I mean, honestly, yeah, it is, I will say, I've seen some people make the joke, because there's one shot where they do the iconic Amazing Fantasy 15 cover, which kind of surprised me, because if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first Spider-Man movie to do that. I mean, there is that one photo in the first Spider-Man that Peter gives to Jonah when he's trying to get the job at the Daily Bugle. That's kind of a reference to that, but not exactly. So it's kind of surprising it took us this many movies for them to do that. But there are some moments where this does look very dark. I don't mean in tone, I mean like in terms of like just like the visual quality of it. It looked kind of very muted, very toned. It almost looks like people were saying like a Zack Snyder take on Spider-Man, which I don't know about that, but it is kind of funny. But I mean, all in all, it's it's a fine teaser. Again, it's one of these, it's like what is it? Let me see here. Yeah, it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds. That's practically a full-length trailer. Teasers are supposed to be like a minute long max. So it's like, just stop calling them teaser trailers, just start calling them official trailers, or make them cut them, or do something. It's so stupid that they keep doing these teaser trailers that are like almost the length of a full trailer anyway. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to quickly get on here and, just give my thoughts on the trailer. And all in all, I don't know if I'm going to say I'm excited for it. I'm interested, that's for sure. I'm very interested. It's probably, of all the movies coming out this year, the one I actually am kind of like, I want to see this movie. I'm genuinely interested about it for positive reasons. Unlike, some of the other movies come out where I'm kind of like, oh God, how big of a train wreck is this going to be? This looks like it's promising. It looks like there could be some really cool stuff going on. It looks like it could be a really fun time, which I feel like superhero movies just need, especially for me. So, and Spider-Man's one of the perfect characters to do that. So, yeah, that's basically going to be it for me. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day. If you enjoyed the video and are so inclined, please leave a like, comment, or even subscribe if you're feeling like it. But that's going to be it for me. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.